A man with the charm and fame of Yves Montand could have easily collected broken hearts, but he never did. In his life there were only 4 great loves, and each of them could inspire an entire book. Yet fate played a cruel trick on him. Society officially called into question his decency toward a woman. Montand's grave was opened, his remains exhumed and examined in order to establish whether he was the father of a child. It became the most sensational Parisian scandal of the past 10 years. The initiator was a certain Madame Drossard. Newspapers eagerly began washing the singer's dirty linen in public. A former lover denounced him openly, while a young woman claiming to be Mademoiselle Montand told reporters how she suffered without a father. 2 years before Montand's death, Madame Drossard took him to court. She told the jury how, in the year 1974, they met on a film set and a tender affection grew between them. She claimed that Montand abandoned her as soon as he learned the baby had been born. Those who attended the famous hearing at the Palace of Justice also learned that the seducer had been ready to return to the woman he allegedly left behind, yet refused to hear anything about the child. Since the court could neither confirm nor deny Montand's paternity, it ruled that a blood identification test be performed. The singer did not object, but in the year 1991, he passed away. The year 1930, Marseille, in a neighborhood poetically nicknamed Mud, in the courtyard of a municipal school, a group of girls teases a little Italian immigrant, Yves Montand, better known by his nickname Big Lips. Long-nosed, ay-ay-ay, floppy-eared, ay-ay-ay, long-nosed, ay-ay-ay, floppy-eared, ay-ay-ay. He has a huge nose, a mouth that could fit half an orange, and a perpetually hungry look. The poor boy feels utterly miserable. The family has eaten nothing but potatoes for an entire week, and that morning he, his older brother, and his sister shared one single hard-boiled egg, carefully sliced with a razor blade. Ivo is hungry. Ivo is embarrassed by his hopelessly worn-out clothes, and he expects nothing good from the future. Meet the future Yves Montand, the famous chansonnier and renowned film actor. First a great friend and later one of the fierce critics of the Soviet Union. He will grow up, learn the trade of a hairdresser, then work in the docks, sing in a little street theater, and during the German occupation move to Paris. And already in the early 1950s, he will become one of the most famous French artists, buy a wonderful country house, and forget poverty forever. Ivo Levi is shy around women. His secret passion is a pretty Italian girl named Bruna, who works as a barmaid in a port bistro. Italian dock workers go there for her alone. She flirts with everyone at once, and Ivo does everything he can to win her favor. He tells jokes, plays the fool, pulls faces, brings flowers, yet still cannot bring himself to kiss her. Ivo suffers from painful insecurity. He has no idea that one day the most desired women in the world, Simone Signoret and Marilyn Monroe, will be his. "Ivo, Monta! Ivo, come home!" His Italian mother would call from the street, and the word Monta, come home, became his stage name. Montand was a very pleasant man. He always had many friends. Women loved him. Yet he never gained the reputation of a Casanova. His parents, who fled to France from Mussolini's regime, raised him strictly. He respected family, believed that a person must work hard, and in memory of his socialist father, he could not stand politicians, capitalists, or clerics. Yves Montand never mistreated women. Behind him were no shattered marriages or ruined lives. He cherished his wife and looked after his girlfriends, and women rewarded him for this. He became the first Frenchman whose body was exhumed by court order to determine paternity. Montand's first great love was born immediately after the war. In the year 1945, fleeing compulsory labor service, he escaped from Marseille to Paris and began searching for work. In his hands, he carried a battered suitcase, in his pocket, a few francs, and a faded Marseille poster. Singing Yves Montand, the Dynamite Man. He dodged German police, amused Parisians with his Marseille accent, and barely controlling the trembling in his knees, rode the subway, which terrified him. Whether he liked it or not, he had to travel constantly across Paris. He auditioned in almost every cabaret, Beaulieu, Folie Belleville, Bobino. Finally, it was the turn of the Moulin Rouge, already a triumph for a young singer. And it was there that Montand met Edith Piaf. She would help him build a career, teach him how to speak with impresarios, and forever break his heart. Edith Piaf was 7 years older than Montand. She was tiny, swift, sharp-tongued. She had gone through fire, water, and copper pipes. In her youth, Piaf had been a street waif, and later she became a star. She changed lovers like gloves, and the lumbering boy from Marseille amused her endlessly. Montand feared the great Edith like fire. He had to sing with her, yet he was terrified. He believed that one small mistake would make her throw him out of the Moulin Rouge. He rehearsed until he nearly fainted, determined to lose his southern accent, singing with a lit cigarette clamped between his teeth. Before one of his performances, Piaf told him, "You are magnificent." That same evening, they became lovers. There was no future for them. They were far too different. Piaf remained in her soul, the ragged street girl who cared nothing for propriety, domestic order, bank accounts, or the comfort of her men. And Montand, despite his fondness for communist rhetoric, was a true bourgeois at heart. He needed a home, comfort, prestige, a woman who would care for him. Their union lasted 2 years, and Montand needed another full year to recover after she left him. And then he met Simone Signoret, who gave him everything a woman can give a man, a sunlit courtyard of an old house. A fair-haired young woman stands surrounded by a flock of pigeons and smiles like a Madonna. That is how Montand first saw Simone in the year 1949. She was stepping out of a country restaurant, barefoot, wearing such bright makeup that he was even startled. It is sinful to put so much lipstick on such lips, he thought. The two young people met quickly, and a day later, Simone threw her husband, the film director Yves Montand, out of the house. Her 4-year-old daughter, Catherine, easily accepted Montand, and the three of them began living together in a small apartment on Place Dauphine. Their happiness lasted 11 years. There was no gentler couple in all of Paris. Fame came to them both, then money. They acquired a beautiful old house in the department of Eure, a farm with 2 loyal workers, a powerful Bentley, and plenty of fashionable clothes. Their characters and habits differed. Montand, raised in simplicity, loved vulgar jokes that made the impeccably brought up and strict Simone shudder. In fact, that was precisely why he told them. Montand enjoyed teasing his partner, and this playful mischief became part of their love game, day and night. They were bound by a passion that left no room for anyone else. Montand was cheerful, immensely energetic, meticulous, generous, and entertaining. The reserved aristocrat Signoret suited him better than anyone in the world, and their honeymoon stretched into years. It lasted until their trip to the United States to film Let Us Make Love, in which Montand starred together with Marilyn Monroe. To Simone's horror, the title of the movie turned out to be prophetic. Marilyn's husband, the famous playwright Arthur Miller, was Montand's friend. By that time, his marriage was already falling apart. You could touch him, but he was not there, Marilyn would say after their divorce. Monroe was enchanting, defiant and fragile, temperamental and childishly trusting. For Montand, who was used to women who made all decisions for him, this worked like a spell, and Monroe was delighted by his southern charm. Both families lived on the same villa rented by the studio in the suburbs of Los Angeles. Simone flew back to Paris, and Miller left for Ireland on business. And one evening, after wishing Monroe good night and kissing her on the cheek, Montand suddenly sensed that something was going wrong. Her head suddenly turns, Montand recalled, and my lips touch hers. A fantastic, impossibly tender kiss. I feel dizzy, mumble something, straighten up, overcome with guilt and asking myself, what is happening to me? But I do not ask for long. Arthur Miller began divorce proceedings. Several years later, upon hearing about the death of his former wife, he merely shrugged. Marilyn Monroe. I do not know such a person. Simone acted more wisely. Without saying a single word to her husband, she left for Paris and calmly waited for his return. Their friends were astonished by her restraint. She shut down gossipers with, "And how many men do you know who would remain unmoved in the arms of Marilyn?" Only those closest to her knew that she had already become a different woman, broken and desperate. Montand rushed between the two women, not knowing what to do, and finally returned home. He did not answer Marilyn's letters, buried himself in work, gradually calmed down, and then, in the year 1962, he learned of Monroe's suicide. By this time, the marriage of Yves Montand had collapsed completely. Simone was unable to forgive him. Her character began to deteriorate, and she started to drink. Her husband tried to stop her, but nothing helped. Yes, I know I have become unbearable. And what of it? Better to push harder than to hit the brakes, is it not? She would say. And burdened by the grim atmosphere at home, Yves Montand began to seek diversions elsewhere. Thus, Anna Drossard entered the scene. According to her, their romance lasted 2 years. In the year 1975, she gave birth to a daughter, Aurora, and it was then that the heartless Montand abandoned her. This cost him dearly. In the year 1998, Madame Drossard initiated a sensational court case. By that time, Simone Signoret had already passed away. She died in the year 1985. Shortly after, Montand married one of his admirers, the charming young Carole Amiel. At the age of 67, he became a father for the first time, tenderly caring for his son, Valentin, and lovingly arranging their home in Auteuil. Meanwhile, Anna Drossard lost case after case, yet she did not give up. Her daughter Aurora bore an uncanny resemblance to the young Montand. In the end, he publicly acknowledged his relationship with Anna Drossard, yet categorically denied paternity, and the outraged woman denounced him everywhere she could. A decent person does not abandon their own child. In the year 1991, Montand died. Shortly before his death, he was preparing a new show and took his 2-year-old son to Antibes to see the ships. The family was in mourning, friends were grieving, and then the grown-up Aurora Drossard appeared on the scene. For 19 years, her mother had instilled in her the belief that she was the daughter of the great chansonnier. Aurora spent hours examining his photographs that covered the walls of her room, repeatedly watched films featuring him. "You are so much like him," her mother would tell her. Many people noticed the resemblance. Aurora felt flattered. The sense of blood connection to the great Montand gave meaning to her entire existence. The girl grew up. Soon, it was no longer enough that only she and her mother believed Montand to be her father. Happiness faded, replaced by an obsessive desire to claim what she believed rightfully hers. The struggle for the Montand name and part of his inheritance became her life's mission. Fully devoted to this struggle, she did not complete her education and never married. French justice faltered before the persistence of Mademoiselle Aurora. In the year 1994, based on physical resemblance and witness testimony, the court recognized her as Montand's daughter. This was unsurprising, as Aurora was assisted by lawyer Jacques Vergès, a cunning casuist, trickster, and defender of the international terrorist Carlos. Catherine Allegret, Simone Signoret's daughter, and Carole Amiel, Montand's widow, appealed the court's decision. Losing patience, the jurors ordered a genetic examination, and the family, whose lives had been made a living hell by the Drossards over the past 10 years, had to comply. The genetic test was conducted at the Paris Institute of Forensic Medicine. The material would be taken from the singer's teeth and bones. By this time, Montand's body had already decayed. Relatives, court officials, police cordons. "No photographs, gentlemen," came the command. The coffin was removed from the grave, and amid the widow's sobs, transferred into a minibus. The next day, the genetic examination was conducted. It turned out that Aurora Drossard had no relation to Yves Montand. Fate cannot be deceived. The Drossard mother and daughter had caused society to doubt Yves Montand's decency, and by the inexorable law of retribution, received a blow back in return. The demons of greed had lured them into a trap. Now, it is unlikely that the Drossard family will ever be able to prove their good intentions or reclaim a good name. Aurora's father was, in fact, a ski instructor whom Anna Drossard had met while on vacation. Her friend shared this information with reporters. She added that Anna had seriously considered an abortion during her pregnancy. The sensation that the public had patiently awaited for so many years did not occur. Interest in Aurora Drossard was lost. The show in which she had been the main character flopped spectacularly. No one thought to pity her. The young woman had spent her entire life believing Montand to be her father, and now her world collapsed, forcing her to rebuild her life from scratch. Aurora Drossard became the laughingstock of all of France. Thus ended the long, dramatic saga surrounding Yves Montand and the Drossard family. The world had seen the rise of a boy from the streets of Marseille into a French legend, a man who charmed millions with his songs and films, who loved passionately yet respectfully, and whose life, despite all fame and fortune, was touched by scandal and heartache. Yves Montand had been a man of extraordinary charm and decency, yet even he could not escape the turbulence of human desire, jealousy, and ambition. He loved deeply, respected women, and maintained loyalty where others might have faltered. His personal happiness, though filled with passion and love, was repeatedly challenged by forces beyond his control: fame, public scrutiny, and the sometimes cruel twists of destiny. In the end, the truth prevailed. Aurora Drossard was not his child. Justice, though delayed, confirmed what Montand himself had always known. And yet, the shadow of doubt, sowed so many years earlier by greed and deception, had left its mark on public memory. The singer's reputation as a gentleman remained intact, though tarnished for a brief moment by false accusations. Yves Montand's legacy lived on through his music, his films, and the love he had shared with the great women of his life: Edith Piaf, Simone Signoret, and even the brief, fateful encounter with Marilyn Monroe. He had cherished his true family, finally found happiness with Carole Amiel, and tenderly nurtured his son, Valentin. As for Aurora Drossard, her world had been built on an illusion. She spent years believing herself the daughter of a great artist, and that dream shaped her youth and ambitions. Yet reality forced her to rebuild her life from the ground up. The scandal that had captivated Paris for decades became a cautionary tale. That greed, deception, and the thirst for fame can collapse upon those who wield them recklessly, leaving only the truth to endure. In the end, Yves Montand's life, full of love, music, success, and a few bitter trials, remained a testament to dignity, charm, and the enduring power of the human spirit.